Aloha, my dear beautiful adventurers. Just a moment, I'll start my Facebook Live. Aloha, all the beautiful adventurers on the other side of the screen. I am Laksmi-Ditton, and I'm saying aloha from Hawaii, the big island. And today is the 1st of April, the Fool's Day, and I hope wherever you are, you have had lots of fun. And the topic today is maybe not that funny and quite serious, but it's really important topic. So despite of the day to day, I want to talk about it because it's very dear to my heart and has really influenced my life a big deal. So that's why I will talk about my grandmother today. So I see Kaya is here. So when you get into this space, please say aloha. And I will share with you what I have in mind today. So today has been a little different Monday for me. I actually took the liberty to not go paddling this morning because I have been having trouble with sleep recently. So I took extra time to sleep to take care of me. Which is a huge deal for me because I hardly ever miss any paddling like that, you know. So, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. And I see Kaya is saying aloha, aloha to you too. And whoever else is joining later, you can let me know that you are here. It would be really nice to hear from you as well. So, a couple of days ago, I got a message from my family in Estonia that my grandmother had fallen and broke his thigh bone. So inside the thigh, so a really kind of a critical situation. So my grandmother got into the hospital and they did an operation on that leg. So that was really, really like critical. So she's still in the hospital, kind of feeling a little kind of out there. So I really have been thinking a lot about my grandmother during the last days. And I also thought to kind of give a little attention and little extra love through this little video here as well. And kind of, you know, help us all to kind of think about the importance of our, you know, ancestors and our grandparents, because oftentimes we are so busy, we even like maybe forget that we have them if they are still alive, you know. So my grandmother was born in 1926. So it means she's 92 years old, and hopefully we can celebrate her 93rd birthday this year. So it has been quite a life she has had. She has experienced the Second World War, like very close, up close. I will share a little more about it later. And in my life, I can say my grandmother has been an anchor in so many ways. And it has been quite a journey with her, me and her. So going back into my story a little more, maybe not all of you know, but my parents divorced when I was 6 years old, and I stayed after that divorce with my dad, and my dad was living with his mom at the time, so my grandmother. So we ended up kind of living all together, my grandfather, grandmother, my dad, and me. So oftentimes my dad, of course, was working a lot at that time, and also he has had for a very long time alcohol problem on and off. So oftentimes also I didn't see him, I didn't even know where he was. So I grew up with the knowing that I can't really trust men, I can't really rely on them, and I have to like become a strong woman to, you know, kind of rely on myself only, because I don't want to get disappointed every time, you know, I'm asking to do something or need help and so on. So, and this is actually a very sad story of the Estonian culture, and I know also in many other countries that when women have been needing help from men and men have not been there for whatever reasons. In Estonia, we also had oftentimes the wars, or people were sent to Siberia, different cultural things which happened. So men were not oftentimes there. And nowadays, many men, Estonian men, are actually working outside of Estonia. So the women are alone again, taking care of the kids, taking care of the everyday things. So it can become quite a challenging thing as a woman, to be a woman and a man in one person and do everything like fully all the time, because we are not created to do and be as women, like only doing all the stuff men should do, because we are created together as a man, as a woman, so that we can help each other. So growing up with that meant that I spent a lot of time with my grandmother and grandfather. And my grandmother was actually, now when I look back at it, I understand that she was very strict, and she was trying to save me from lots of troubles, or hurt from the world. And what happened was that because of that, I was a very shy girl until the end of high school. I even had trouble to go up to the front of the class to even talk about the homework and whatever needed to be done. So only after, when I left home, I started to really kind of get in connection with my courage, with my voice, sharing this with the world. So it was like quite a different thing. And then as years were going by, I understood more and more what my grandmother actually had been giving to me. It's kind of like the Hawaiian kind of mindset as well. Oftentimes, our elderly actually give us more than we actually maybe realized. And then when you look back in time, you're like, oh my God, like she was actually teaching me this or that. So like for example, my grandmother had a little piece of land and like a little garden. So every spring, we went there to prepare all the land for the seeds, and then we started to take care of it and get the weeds out and take care of the whole garden the whole summer. And oftentimes we really didn't like it as kids, because it was like, we wanted to just have fun, and then we had this garden we had to go and like weed and do all these things and pick berries and stuff. But then in the long run, I have understood that how also it is connected to, for example, many things in our lives, like also abundance. Like oftentimes I have clients contacting me and saying, I have no abundance in my life, or like everything is stuck. Like what's happening? Like, can you have a little, glimpse about that topic? And then we look inside and we see that this person, like if I look where the abundance garden is, like there is nothing. There is not even, the land is not prepared, even prepared. So there is no like seeds in the soil. So what are we talking about here? Like you can't ripe the fruits before you put the seed down. It's very elemental. So these kind of things, I was like, wow, this is the insight, this is the wisdom my grandmother gave to me, which I didn't even realize I had, until many years later. So this is like really also an example that, if you want to grow something and want to taste that fruit, you have to put a lot of work into it, and you have to know all these little details. If you have frost coming and you have some, fresh little plants there, you have to protect the plant. So what do you do? Like, how do you cover it up, or do you do something? Because if you don't, the frost will come and, take your plant, and then you have nothing from that. So little details like that. And then, of course, all of the other things, be orderly, like do things as you're supposed to. And then many other things, also like kind of don't give up, do your thing and so on. And because I was growing up in situations and kind of conditions where oftentimes I probably couldn't do everything what I wanted to do, but I also didn't know much more because it just was like how it was. So now I see that in case I would have had more support with different things, like for example with hobby classes or like different things which I really was interested in, like it would have definitely influenced me as a person and as an adult later. But not having these things, I mean, I had other things. So I kind of looking back like that, I think everything is divine as it is. But I also got, understanding from that, from my own life, for my own life as well for others, that, if you have kids at this moment in your life, try to help them to figure already out like what are their talents, or different things they are interested in, and support these like as early as you can. Like, many of the big masters in many fields are actually born because they had also the support from early on, like from 6 or 7 years old. So it will take lots of years, and they can develop their skills and knowledge even more. So if you are a parent, so this is actually your kind of obligation to give to your child, to create that supportive environment for them to explore, and also start to work on those different things while they are here. And one really amazing thing, which I will share a lot about when we are going to do these Hawaiian Shamanism workshops in Estonia this summer. But this is about actually, how to, when a child was born in a Hawaiian village, like way back then, what happened was sometimes they were actually right away, like kind of people in the village knew that, okay, this person or this child will be the navigator of canoes, or this person will be like a stone art master, or this person will be a canoe making master, or depending on what they saw. Sometimes the kahunas or the healers of the village actually knew it already, like when the child was like coming into this world. And then what was really interesting was that according to where this mastery which they saw was like showing itself, and then the way they were like kind of living their lives was that the whole mountain, from the mountain all the way down to the ocean, were like different ohanas or families. So if this person was born into the the sea family, or close to the beach, and actually had a talent about, like, I don't know, carving wood in the forest, so this person was actually given to that family and adopted into that family, and learning these mastery skills so over the years, and still have contact with the original family, but mostly being with that other family. And that was like a very normal thing. And this is why I'm so fascinated about Polynesian culture, is like, oh my god, they were so smart, like how cool is that? And then all these different families from like all these different like areas came together, shared their food and all their riches. So if you were a fisherman, you shared your fish. If you were from the forest, you got whatever berries or whatever you got from the forest. So everyone came together, everyone worked together. And this is also something we are going to get back to now in the new time energy. We have to come together and share all of our knowledge and all of our riches together. So that's why I've been really enjoying living here in Hawaii, because I've learned so many of those cultural things which I can now also implement into my own life, but also share with others, because we have so much to learn from these ancient cultures. So I say Alexandra Jacobs is here. Aloha, very nice to hear you being here as well. So today's topic is about my grandmother, and I kind of had a sidetrack to Hawaiian culture and like how Hawaiians are like working with these systems. And of course, because people are living in ohanas like families, so oftentimes also when people get older, it's very normal that your grandmother or grandfather are living in your same house or in the same area. So which is very southern. Many southern cultures actually have that. Uh, so this is when I get to the point where my grandmother is 92 years old, just living alone, broke his leg, and she actually tried to kind of figure out like whether she would like to have a different situation and live differently, but then she still decided that she would like to live alone and do her things and then have a little extra help. And at the same time, I really support that, but it's also like when they get older, it is really good to have someone from the family being closer and supportive and so on. And if they're not there, then things like this can happen. They can fall. So this is why also in our lives. So as we are going, so me and Michael, we are in a transition. We are actually traveling a lot. So maybe 1 or 2 years more, we will be like in like complete like, gypsy mode for more. So we thought that we are kind of like done with it, but it doesn't seem like spirit is really on board with that. So we kind of flow with that and don't resist that. So which means that it's really hard for us to be there for our like older family members because we are kind of like in our own process right now. But in the future, like if there would be a possibility to have a bigger house where there would be ohana quarters, I wouldn't mind actually to have like close by or somewhere to have the older family members living there, so that I can learn from them, and at the same time I know that they are well taken care of. But this is the future. Like this is the future where people should maybe also like think like, how can I support my parents or my grandparents and stuff. So, and I know that in the Western culture it's oftentimes not very common because this is not how we have been existing. And this is also one other thing which I have noticed a lot in Mexico, that you hardly ever see any beggars or homeless people, because everyone has their ohanas, their family. Everyone is taking care of everyone. And then even when I was in trouble, I had a family with some Mexican person also in there who actually helped me. So this is a very common thing. They understand that good what you give goes around and comes back. So something really, really important to think about. So going back to my grandmother's story. So my grandmother, after basically, so why her story is also so interesting is that she was born in 1926. Imagine that, like it's like crazy to even think about it, like and then just before the Second World War, she fell in love with a person, and was like, it seemed like a real love story as such. But that person, of course, went into the war and they lost contact. And then after the war, everyone was like kind of, pairing up. And it was really important to find a man, to start your life and family together. And that's what she did. So there wasn't much to kind of think or like, oh, do I love this person, or how is the situation? It's like, okay, whatever works. We make it work. So she kind of lost her love of her life. And when I've been talking to her about it, so it has been kind of a big loss in her heart for all these years. And when someone is going through this, you can see that it's kind of it's reflecting through many things in their lives. So it's very, very sad. So, and also my grandmother lost her dad in the war, they don't even know what happened. So they went to kind of help with their horses and stuff. And then suddenly he was gone and no one even knows like what happened. So these are the stories of Estonian culture where men went into the war, or they were, you know, taken to Siberia, or, you know, they right now they go to other countries to find jobs and have, you know, more money and economic situation like better. So oftentimes Estonian women were staying behind and kind of becoming the man of the family, you know, doing everything, taking care of everything, you know, being there for everyone. So they basically became like almost like, you know, um, very strong, like those masculine women who are doing everything, taking care of everything. And still this day, every time I go to Estonia, I see these amazing, beautiful ladies, higher education, super smart, super beautiful, super sexy, and they have difficulties to find an equal because the men oftentimes who are there or who are showing up are, you know, not that you know, on that level. So because men were now growing up with, you know, inside the families where they had, maybe their mom was really bitter that men were never there, you couldn't really rely on them. And then finally it's like, okay, I just have to rely on myself. So which was the story also for me, because my dad was an alcoholic. He was there, but he wasn't there. So he promised something, but then it didn't happen because he just forgot, or he got drunk, or whatever happened, you know. So I grew up with the knowing that, you know, if I want to make it happen in my life, I have to rely only on myself. And all of these relationships also, which I had with men prior meeting Michael, was basically the same pattern. Like, I didn't trust them, I didn't rely on them, I couldn't rely on them. And then, you know, it was like going like this for so many years until I said, like, I'm done with this. So, and then of course, Michael showed up, and completely different, like on my level, really like as equal. So it was like amazing how it even could happen. And one of the keys why it happened was also that I started to work with my inner family, which is a topic for another video. But that really helped me to change the patterns inside of me so that I wouldn't create it in my outside world anymore. So, and I understood that inside of me, I had even copied a little bit of my grandmother's bitterness, that, you know, that she lost that love, you know, that she was in that situation and living with a man who wasn't maybe her first choice, you know, stuff like that. So I understood that, you know, okay, this is my grandmother's bitterness. I can give it back to her, like, this is yours and this is mine, and I have to take care of me. So that was a really interesting, like, insight coming. And over the years, I did a little video in Estonian. I didn't have time to do it in English yet, but I said that my grandmother has the heart of the gold, and she's made of like gold, iron, and copper. Is that copper? I think. So, and then, yeah, so the heart of the gold, and that the will is like iron, and then, you know, being there like consistently, you know, being very like continuously not giving up and working on things. So these are the qualities I have actually also copied from her, like the stubbornness of not giving up, you know, still like, you know, working with my things and working with my dreams, and, you know, always reaching higher, all of these things. That's from my strong grandmother, you know, the anchor grandmother, who has been there. So, and also when I think back of some amazing things with grandmother. So my grandmother was a really good cook, so she did all kinds of like home meals which I liked, and then of course all the desserts like kind of Estonian kind of donuts, which they don't look like donuts, but we call it ponchikud. Really amazing. And I remember also she always like kind of put some powder sugar on top of it, so it looked really like delicious and yummy. And then some little cakes she was making and pancakes and stuff. So this was like, you know, the highlight of the week when we got something sweet like that. And also all the stuff we learned from her, you know, in the garden stuff. And I'm not a really like a soil person at all. I'm more like a water person and a keeper of the water. But I really appreciate, like, you know, all the knowledge she shared with me without of her knowing that she actually did that. She's like, okay, this is what I do, you know. And that I can also actually use spiritually now in my life. So, and also talking about religion and stuff, actually my grandmother was kind of connected to the Greek Orthodox kind of. It's a really interesting kind of yeah, I don't even know what you call it, like yeah, you have the Russian Orthodox, and so they also have like a Greek Orthodox, Estonian Greek Orthodox kind of part. And at one time in my life, when I felt like I had so much negative stuff going on, I felt like I had no protection. So I actually went to let myself be baptized and went through the whole like school and stuff, and which I think kind of like helped me in so many ways, even though I'm like kind of not going to the church and not believing that kind of thing that way. But it really like kind of helped me that time to really kind of take care of myself in a different way. And also, even though my grandmother has been a really like kind of, you know, one of the jobs of grandmothers is to worry, you know. As when I started to travel all these different places in the world, what was really funny was that I oftentimes, because I knew that she would worry, I just told her just like maybe 2 days before, like, you know, going somewhere. Like I remember that time when I was saying, hey grandmother, I'm going to South Africa now for 6 months. And she was like, what? You're going to be killed, you know? And then I still, of course, did it. But it was really kind of, you know, playing around with that so that I wouldn't worry her too much, so that she could be okay with my choices, you know? So, and also, my grandmother went through some major challenges. So she raised like three kids, three boys, and so I'm the grandkid of the oldest son, Rival, and my dad died in 2011. So in the last years, also because my dad's left leg got amputated, so my grandmother actually helped and took care of him as well. So which is like kind of unheard of, that, you know, an older person takes care of the younger person. So so that situation was like a little challenging too. But also earlier years, she lost her second son in the car accident. So there was a drunk driver who hit his car and he died instantly, and had a son who was like 1 year old left behind. So that was really like kind of hardcore situation to go through, and very, very, it took many years for her to recover. And I can only imagine the pain and the loss she went through with that. So yeah, to live through that, and then you know, all the challenges my dad had, and then also when I was like, I think 12 years old, my mom lost the parental rights as well. So all the changes which came with that, and then in the end, my grandmother ended up, you know, raising me and my sister as well. So like, 3 kids of her own, and then 2 grandkids. So it's quite a life. And it's really with deep gratitude. I'm thinking of my grandmother taking on such a task, adding so many extra years to take care of both of us, and being there for us, taking care of us, and not giving up on us. So I think thanks to my grandmother that I turned out so kind of normal citizen in so many ways. And like Michael has said, Crystal, you have such a good heart. You are hardworking. You're taking care of yourself and others. Like, I think most of these good qualities are actually things which I have copied and gotten from my grandmother, who was there, a very hardworking woman, and giving all of what she got for me and my sister. So I'm very, very grateful to my grandmother. And one of the reasons why I also do this live today is that I also wanted to ask from all of you who you are online right now, is your grandmother still living, or grandfather? And if they are, just let me know. And when was the last time you saw him or her? And if you haven't seen or met your grandparents recently and they are still alive, I would really recommend you to go and visit them. And I also wanted to do a little Hawaiian prayer. This is a very special prayer from like a Hawaiian shamanism kind of way. And I would like to read it loud so that all of you can kind of join for the prayer for my grandmother. And in case you have someone sick in your family, you can use this as well. And it's very sacred, very special. And I hope you will join me with that. So before I will read this, it says that we should also do the silent prayer to the Supreme God, and an affirmation that everything is said according to divine will and power. So we'll take a little moment where we kind of say that inside in silence. And breathe a couple of times. And let's do it. So, to thee, O fiery eye of heaven, from the rising of the sun to the setting of the sun, from the higher level of heaven above to the earth below, contact. Arise, O Ku, the architect and builder, and Hina, Mother Earth, contact. From the sounding of time through space blows softly the breeze of life from the four corners of heavens, above and earth below, so our offspring may live and enjoy life. May the pain swelling, the tie that binds her trouble, be unfastened. May all inflammation of the muscles and may any ache in any physical organ be removed. Remove the hate, envy, jealousy of mankind. Destroy the evil power of black magic. Destroy the power of unreality in your offspring, so that there will be no evil forces left in. And then I say my grandmother's name, and no forces of evil be surrounding, and the name again. From the top of her head to the tip of her toes, either front, back, or on either side. May your mana power be inside, and I, thy servant, be outside. Now my prayer is free to wend its way to God. May peace be with you. Amen. And Amen in Hawaiian is Amen. So thank you for joining for this beautiful, special prayer, which we did. And you can use this if you have anyone in your family or anyone needing this kind of prayer. It's very powerful. The Hawaiians work with four directions as well, 4 elements, and they work a lot with, you know, all of nature. So it's a very holistic system. That is why I really love this culture, and there is so much to learn from it. So when they do any like prayer or anything like this, they basically include everything, which is what you should do, because we are part of everything. We are one, you know. That kind of reminding ourselves that we are one is really amazing. So I see that Maria Ellis is online. Aloha, very nice to see you. And Lena is online. Very nice to see you too. So yeah, so take a little moment thinking in your life, are your grandparents still alive? Do you need to like meet with them? Is there anything you can do for them? They are actually real treasures of our lives. No matter how their personality is or how bad or good they are, you should all take a little extra time to sit down, and actually I would recommend to record stories from their life, you know, because once they die, all these stories will die with them if none of us is actually archiving those stories. So um, nowadays it's very easy. You can just record with your, you know, mobile phone, and write those stories down. Do the genealogy, you know, the family tree of your family. Write down as many information and names as you can. So this is the way you preserve the culture, you preserve your family tree. And last year when I was in Estonia, I was going through my storage stuff, and I found that page which we actually started to build with my grandmother, where is the whole lineage of our family tree, which, you know, some of the names and people I don't remember anymore. And she even had many of the dates, you know, and I have to take care now to make it digital so that it would carry on for the future generations, you know. So as grandkids, it's actually, I feel, our obligation to take care of things like that, because if we are not taking care of it, no one will. And then our stories and our family lineage will, you know, die with those grandparents dying. So basically, in the old Hawaiian times, when people were meeting, they said, you know, aloha, and then they said, you know, whose child they were and which lineage they were from. And this was the way how people were connecting with each other. And they oftentimes remembered, or were even actually introducing themselves, like, you know, my great 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 grandmother, you know, this and that, you know. And then those other elderly people could connect, like, oh yeah, I knew your great great grandfather or whoever, you know. So this is something which is basically dying out these days, but we as grandkids, we can, you know, pick it up again and take care of it, because this is our stories. We are the keepers of the stories of our family stories, and if we are not doing it, no one will do it. So Lina says aloha, aloha to Norway. It's really nice to have you here. So do you have any good wishes for my grandmother? If you do, I would really recommend you to leave a message here. I will make a little letter for her, and hopefully someone from my family can deliver it for her, so that we can actually deliver her all these beautiful messages from all of you. So all in all, summarizing this topic, I also want to say one thing. We are oftentimes born into families and situations because this is part of our life mission. We need these certain conditions and certain people into our lives so that we would grow strong, we would get these qualities, and we would like really start to live the dream and the mission why we are here for. So if I take my life and think of, if I hadn't had such a strong and strict and loving grandmother as I had, would I live in Hawaii married with my spirit mate today? I don't think so. So I'm very, very grateful to my grandmother that she was and is the woman she has been and continues to be. And I know that she's strong and that she can recover from this operation and come out of it. And I really, really hope that she has many, many more years so I can do more of the storytelling, archiving as well. So I'm very, very grateful. And also all of these challenges which were there because it was the purpose of my divine spirit to experience this so that I could start to do more of what my mission here on this planet is. So wherever you are in your life, and especially if you're young and you're living with your parents and you kind of like dream like, oh, I just want to get out of here, and like I hate my parents, I hate my grandparents, whatever. This is actually the moment to really take, and be very grateful, because this was the, like a laboratory for you to grow to a person and to become the person you are going to be, so that you can, live your dream, whatever that dream is. And you may have many dreams and have no idea what they are, but as you go, your spirit will tell you more and more. And that's why it's also very important to listen to your intuition, because that's how your spirit will talk to you. So that's really, really important. And when I was preparing for this video, I had some resistance kind of popping up, and not from me, but from the outside. And kind of like, I've had a lot of times in my life where people come to me and say, you are not supposed to do that, you should not do that, and so on. And this is the time where actually your spirit is testing you, like, who are you? Are you really, connected? Are you really actually, these old patterns which were like, if someone was saying don't do it, you didn't do it, are you standing in your full power? And are you connected to your voice, to your message? And do you have the courage to share your message? Because oftentimes people don't. So it's very, very important to have that. And I took the moment, and it's like, there is nothing wrong of me to share beautiful stories of my grandmother, to send aloha love, and also include others to send some aloha love and energy and love and healing for her. And if anyone has problem with that, they should look into themselves, like, why is it I'm stopping something good to happen? So where is this coming from, And also, we are moving into a new kind of time where we are supposed to be and also show more of our vulnerability. So if in the old times it was like, something bad happened in our family, we were like, hush, hush, we're not talking about it, these times are over. So if something vulnerable is happening, and you are really touched by it, you can actually share it, and it can actually even inspire, help, and heal maybe many other people. You should not be quiet about that, whoever says whatever says. So this is a good point to like kind of check in with you, like what's going on with my life. And I had to do, and because of that happened just yesterday, I had to go through my Facebook and delete and also block a couple of people from my friends list because of that. So I have the power and authority to choose into my life people who support me, who are there when I'm vulnerable, who support me of being vulnerable and sharing that with the world. So this is what my voice has to say to all of you, and I really, really hope that you agree with that, with me. And if not, that's fine too. We can agree to disagree. So, but I have the authority to choose into my life people who are supporting my processes, my challenges, my vulnerability. And if they don't, so I don't need to have them in my life. So this is my choice. So So have that authority, be courageous, and thank you, grandmother, because without your strength and power, I wouldn't have that strength and power to say even these words publicly today. So I'm very, very grateful. And so send all the healing powers and energies and aloha to my grandmother, Astra, in Estonia right now. So I really, really hope that she will recover really fast and will come out of it, will walk again, and enjoy the rest of the life which is here, so we can share also more moments with her. And just before I wrap this up, I want to share this really amazing moment from last year summer in Estonia. So um, there was a point where I stopped actually taking my new boyfriends to grandmother, because all of my, relations were just kind of, ending very fast oftentimes. And this happened actually basically like 15 years. I was looking for my Mr. Right, and then it was just, it turned into a joke after a while. So I just basically gave up. I never brought any like men from certain point to my grandmother, because I felt embarrassed that they didn't last. They just like, relationships like fell apart very fast. So I told myself that next time when I will bring anyone into, to introduce to my grandmother, would be someone who is already married with me and who is committed and who is a real man, a real king. And last summer, that was the moment. With proudness, I introduced my king, Michael, to her, and she instantly loved Michael. Everyone in Estonia loved Michael. So they didn't speak the same language, but they spoke the language of the heart. So my grandmother took the hands of Michael, and just like thinking about it, I start to like cry, and just looked into his eyes and said, "Thank you, Michael, for finding this beautiful woman and taking care of her." And she has so much to give to the world, And Michael had tears running as well, It's like, oh my God, amazing, I'm so lucky to be here. I'm so lucky to, have your granddaughter as my wife, and she's an amazing woman, and we are just so happy to be together and be here, And several times when we were visiting her and saying goodbye, she had tears running, because she was just so happy that finally I found a man who is good, who is kind, who is loving, who is there to support me, so that I don't have to be that 100%, masculine woman anymore. So, and then I felt very good, like, wow, like, even if grandmother will die, whenever she will, die, I would feel peace in my heart, because she has seen that, I'm in the good hands. So very special moment. So yeah, so this is why we are here. We are here to share these special moments, and thank you for being here, to being part of my special moment and supporting me on my journey. So share your story with your grandmother, and send your good wishes, use to prayer, and see you next week. And my next week's program will be about a really interesting topic. I will tell you my journey recently, what I have done to lose 21 pounds, around 9.5 kilograms during the recent months, what I have done, how is this possible, how do I feel, why I think this is important, and everything connected to it. And I will also bring in abundance wheel, because health is a very important part of that, and why this is also important when you are becoming a bigger influencer and doing your life journey and fulfilling your life mission as you are, because we need the full power and full energy to do those things. So stay tuned for next week's live. The English one happens around a little later. So I will put the information up there so you can join me. And please, if this video was inspiring for you, share it with at least 5 people. And this is the way you can support me. If you haven't yet put a little like on my Facebook page, which is Liquid Heaven Facilitator or Crystalralaksmi, do that, and see you soon. Aloha.